Welcome to She Did It, the Hopecast, the podcast where Simone Lersch, Katrin Schwierz, and Ariane Bischoff talk with women from the EWMD network about personal crises and the path they found to overcome them. Here, you'll discover inspiring stories, courageous women, and the hope for navigating difficult times. Hello, dear Brigitte Ott-Göbel. Thank you so much for joining our fourth season of the EWMD podcast, She Did It. This year in 25, we have a Hopecast. And you have been kind enough to take part and share your story about your life and a challenge in your life or challenges in your life. But please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit who you are and what you do and what kind of a story or challenge you want to talk about.
All right. Thank you, Ariane. And thank you for having me. Yes, when you told me that you will do a Hopecast this time and that it's about a difficult time of our lives that we talk about, I immediately thought I will participate because I had a very difficult phase in my life a couple of years ago. Actually, it's already 10 years ago, which makes it easier now to talk about it. In the beginning of 2015, let me first introduce myself. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
I'm a long-term member of EWMD. Actually, I joined EWMD in 1999 when I was still working at Daimler Corporation. And I had built up together with two colleagues, an internal women's network. And at a certain point of time, we were of the opinion we had a little bit stabilized our internal network, distributed some functions and roles, and we thought that a benchmark or more exchange with women's networks in other companies would be good. And EWMD could be a good platform for that. And we convinced our board member for HR to join EWMD as a member. And since then, I am a member. I'm not anymore working for Mercedes or Daimler. Since 16 years, I have my own consulting and training and coaching company. I focus on coaching nowadays because I'm in a phase of my life where my work life goes near the end, or let's say I still work, but I do mainly executive coaching at the moment. So is this enough for introduction? Yeah, good.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. So I tell about my story. In 2015, in the beginning of 2015, I went to my gynecologist for the normal check. And I must say that I had in December felt a little bit of stomach pain sometimes when I lay in my bed in the evening and was very quiet. I felt that there's something not normal. And I tried in December to have an appointment earlier than my appointment in January, but the doctor was full and I also didn't insist on it. So on the 7th of January, we have a holiday in Baden-Württemberg where I live. So the 6th of January was a holiday. The days before, I was skiing with my sister and my nephews in Oberstdorf in the Allgäu. I was pretty fit, but still I was a little bit nervous because I had felt this stomach pain. So my gynecologist did the examination and she immediately said to me when she looked on the screen, "For Göbel, there's something that should not be there." And of course, I was nervous or I was insecure. I said, "What?" And she continued to examine. She's a very calm and a very reliable person. She continued the examination and then she asked me to go next door for a blood check. And the next thing that I knew, because I lost conscience, I woke up again in the room next door and they said to me, "Okay, you fainted. But we really have," she said to me, "I have bad news for you. We have to confirm it by a blood examination, but I saw something in your ovarian area of your stomach which should not be there." Mm-hmm. And then she examined my blood, and I must say that I'm a very disciplined person, and I remember that I went back to my office that day. But of course, in the evening when I got home, I I said to my husband, okay, there must be a big problem. And tomorrow, my doctor told me to call her the next day, and by then she would have a plan how to continue.
Mhm.
So I called her the next day, the next morning, and I asked her, what's the diagnosis? And she said, Verdacht auf ovarian cancer. So
Okay.
cancer is, of course, very bad news, and but she had already thought about how to proceed, and she said, okay, you need an operation,
Mhm.
and you will also need chemotherapy after the operation.
Okay.
So she said, okay, my recommendation for the operation is a doctor in Essen. I'm living in Stuttgart, a doctor in Essen who is quite famous. And I asked my girlfriend, she said, who had the same problem, and she recommended very decisively this doctor in Essen. And I was a bit, I reacted in a way, okay, thank you for the recommendation, but can I have a second opinion in Stuttgart? Because Essen is quite far away from Stuttgart. I'm not sure if I want to go this far for an operation where I have to stay in hospital for 3 weeks. And she said, okay, no problem. I can also make you an appointment for our telephone call was on Friday. I can make an appointment for Tuesday in the Stuttgart hospital, and on Monday and Tuesday I make an appointment for you in Essen. And the additional thing that she made an appointment, she had already made an appointment for me for Monday for computer tomography, which would confirm if there was this ovarian cancer.
Mhm.
I did everything that she recommended. The weekend was, of course, not so good. On Monday, I went to the computer tomography. The radiologist confirmed that it was actually ovarian cancer. It had already grown a little bit in my ovaries. And on the same day in the afternoon, I went to the Stuttgart hospital. I saw the head physician of the gynecology department. And the fun fact was that he knew me because he was a neighbor. I did not know. I had met him a couple of weeks before at a housewarming party of one of the person whom we live with in the same house. And the first thing that he said to me, oh, what a bad occasion of seeing you again. And the whole conversation was in that style. He was so, he seemed depressed to talk to me. And
Oh.
I mean, I was, after this conversation, he examined me. He examined, because the important thing for him was to examine manually. So he examined me. He had an impression of the cancer. And afterwards, I said to him, okay, if I do the operation in your department, when could you give me a date for the operation? And he looked at his screen and said, oh, next week, not possible. The week after, also not possible. In 3 weeks, maybe I can squeeze you in. My overall expression, and why I tell this so precisely, is that in such a situation, the communication of the doctors is so important. So when I went out of his office, I immediately said to my husband, he was with me, I will not go to him. He, in his way of communication, he's so negative.
Mm.
I will not, and I only hope that tomorrow when we go to Essen, we will have a better meeting. The next day, we took the train to Essen. This evening was the first time that I cried at home, because I realized actually it takes always some time if you get a shock message. No? At least
Mm.
for me, I realized in the last years that it always takes some time that I need to realize fully the extent of this event.
Yeah,
And
sure.
the next day we went to Essen. We took the train. We were a bit early. We went to the tourist office. We are very good. We are a very good project team, my husband and I. We went to the tourist office opposite the railway station because we knew, or my husband said, I will accompany for you at least for the first couple of days when you're in hospital, and I will go to a hotel near the hospital. So we searched for some touristic information about hotels, accommodation, and so on. Then we went to the hospital, and the first person that we met was not the head physician, but the Oberarzt, the
Mhm.
head of the department. And he was from Bavaria, and
Ah.
he communicated to me, first of all, I like Bavaria, and he spoke a little bit this dialect. And the second thing was that he communicated in an absolutely positive way. I said, I know already because I was at the CT yesterday and I was in Stuttgart. to have a second opinion. I know already that the cancer has grown already a bit. He said, oh, the growth is not the problem. And he talked about what is the challenge, but the message was positive. And then he examined me, same thing as the day before. And then he looked at his computer and he said, okay, I can give you a date 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
And my own concern was that my gynecologist had recommended his boss, the Chefarzt, the head physician. And I said to him, okay, I will come to you because I have a very good impression of how you do it here. But my gynecologist had recommended Mr. Dubois, and can he operate me? And I was a little bit, I felt uncomfortable because I know from management, Ariane, you're also in management, so it is if you want to go one hierarchy level higher. And he said, okay, I will talk to Mr. Dubois. I come back. I waited for him. And when he came back, he said, okay, we'll do the operation together. Mr. Dubois and myself will do the operation together. Then I felt good. I'm in the hand of the Chefarzt and the Oberarzt, of the head physician and the head of department. That must be good. And before we left, we discussed then a few organizational things. And before we left, Mr. Dubois came into the small office where we sat with this doctor, and he said, and he greeted me and he said, we from southern Germany must stick together.
Oh, nice.
Oh, are you also Swabian? I said, no, I'm Badenser. I'm from Baden. I'm also from southern Germany. So we will do the operation. And he said the second thing to me, he said, you know, I have the vision to eliminate this cancer. And he had a big study going on about ovarian cancer. And when I heard these words, I have a mission to eliminate this cancer, to me as a management person, this was so positive communication. All in all, yeah.
I can relate to that, yes.
Mm-hmm. So I did the operation 2 weeks later in Essen. The hospital was a private-run hospital based on a foundation, Evangelisches Wissensstift. Today it's a different structure. It belongs to Universitätsklinikum Essen. But my whole experience in staying there was positive because they have an integrated approach. I had some, besides the operation, which was a big operation, like something like 7-8 hours operation, because they took out not only the ovarian, but also parts of, I don't know all the English special expressions, but they took out a lot of my stomach, and all went well. And what I did with this integrative approach is, of course, I had to stay 3 weeks in the hospital, but they did some traditional Chinese medicine.
Yes.
They did some Ayurveda treatments. And when I felt bad after my husband went home because he had to go back into do some appointments, so he could not stay with me longer. I felt a little bit my mood was a little bit bad.
Sure.
And immediately they sent a psycho-oncologist, and she did dream imagination with me, and they cared so good for me. So I felt really well taken care of. My learning of this whole, let's say, it was a huge change in my life, and everybody who has some experience with cancer, be it had cancer herself or himself, or experienced a nearby relative or friend who had cancer, everybody knows that it's a severe illness because you don't know if you will survive and how many years you will survive. You can have, after some years, the cancer can come back. But all in all, and that's why I talk in this Hopecast, I heard very early on the message that there's also some positive thing in the cancer illness. And for me, the positive thing was that it changes your life. My lesson learned is that since then, I appreciate more every day that I am in good health, every day that I can enjoy life. And the 6 months after my operation were still hard because I had to have chemotherapy. I knew from early on, my gynecologist had told me that. And chemotherapy is, of course, hard, especially after the second phase, you lose your hair.
Yes.
But as I knew everything, I could prepare very well. I had gone to a hairdresser, whom I knew already before, so she had prepared a wig for me. I didn't want to be barehead. I wanted to to wear this wig. And after the third or fourth chemotherapy, then you lose the eyebrows. And this is even
Eyebrows,
harder
yes.
because eyebrows in a face, they give
Yes.
some contour to your face. And
Yes, yes,
so
yes.
you have to go through all this pain and difficult days. But I must also say that due to my good health before, I had never had a severe illness before until this cancer illness. So I was in good physical shape.
Mhm.
And I did not have huge problems with all these chemotherapy treatments.
Okay.
So my lesson learned all in all is that you can go through this difficult phase, and of course you suffer on many days, but at the end, if you manage to go through this difficult phase, then at the end there's also a positive message. You have grown stronger every time you go through a crisis. You know that if you come out of the crisis, you're a bit stronger, and you appreciate more the quality of life, the health,
Mhm.
and you are thankful
Mhm.
for, as I'm thankful for every healthy day.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
Very touching. Very
Mm.
touching. Yes. Has you mentioned your husband has been
Mhm.
with you in that time?
Mhm.
Was there anything or somebody else where you would say that was key for me? You mentioned the positive
Mhm.
communication of the
Mhm.
medical team, of the
Yeah,
doctors.
the support from the family actually, but not of all friends. I had discovered that, of course, my mother and my sister, they were in deep fear. And my
Mm,
sister first could not believe it because she said, "Hey, we were skiing and you were down skiing with the guys, with my nephews. You seemed so powerful, and I cannot believe that you have cancer." So it's this shock that they first had, of course, my mother and my sister, but then they were very strong support. I have a very close relationship with my sister. We are only two siblings.
mhm,
My mom also, but I noticed with friends, some were helpful, some were not, because dealing with cancer is something, or with severe illnesses in general, probably, is something that some people are used to and they can be supportive, and some others
mhm.
cannot. They immediately start to talk about themselves or another cancer in their
Yes,
acquaintances,
yes.
and this did not help at all. So I had to differentiate and be a little bit aware of the fact that not all friends should come by and spend time with me during that chemotherapy phase, because I was, of course, weak. I lost weight and I had to to follow a certain diet and so on. And I found out that okay, meeting some friends is okay, meeting others that have a problem with illness or with severe crisis is not helpful, so I should avoid meeting them.
Yeah, I can relate to that, understand to that. If you're in a difficult position and you're confronted with a person who goes away, who cannot not stay and listen on your and focus on your needs and on your story, but starts talking about fastly about, oh yes, I have heard there's other people and it's even worse than yours. So
Mhm.
I
Yeah, or
I
who
don't
have
like that. It's
yeah.
always the thinking of, what are you trying to tell me? That
Mhm,
my situation is not bad, or what is the intention?
mhm,
I am, yes, I
yeah.
understand.
And then there are friends who have certain advices of
Yes,
following a certain diet or doing this and
yes.
doing not this. And yeah, I didn't need these advices because I had very good doctors and I had been taken care of. But yeah, these were things that I found out, but it was not, I would say it was not dramatic. I also, one lesson more is that it was very difficult for me to talk about it in my professional environment, of
Mhm,
course,
mhm.
and I did not talk about cancer. I
Okay.
told people, I had to tell certain people, of course, my cooperation partners, that I would have to go in operation, but I was very careful of how do I talk about it, because my fear was that they would think, okay, she has cancer, she will not be able to stand in front of a group, moderate a workshop, whatever. And at this time, I mean, it's already 10 years ago, I was in full blow of my company, and I had certain cooperation partners who also had a lot of business. So I wanted to be I knew that for a couple of months I would not be able to stand in front of managers, because I did not know before how I would tolerate all the chemotherapy
Mhm,
treatments.
mhm,
I had this week, of course. I looked okay, but I did not know, because the operation had also touched my digestion a little bit. So I was
mhm,
afraid, for example, that in the midst of a workshop or in a lecture, I also had this lecturing job at the university. I would have to go to a toilet
mhm.
maybe
Yes.
already, despite the fact that we had just done a break. And I did not dare to make it short. I did not dare to plan any workshops with managers during that time, but I thought the university would maybe okay, because the students, I could find some explanations, and they would tolerate it. They are young people, and they were MBA students. I knew that they were quite sensitive to toward soft skills, and they were quite sensitive to things like burnout,
Mhm,
depression,
mhm,
illnesses at the workplace, because all of them, they were in their late 20s to their early 40s. All of them had already experienced a boss or a colleague who, for a certain time, was not in the office, and there was some rumors about it. So I knew I could explain it to my students. My reasons were, when maybe I was not feeling so well. Actually, it all went well. I had never this problem that I
mhm.
feared. I could do all my lectures. My lectures were always Friday evening and Saturday, because the students at our FOM university, they study besides the job.
Mhm.
So yeah, but I all in all, I must say I was well organized. I was also lucky that I tolerated the chemotherapy so well. But the lesson learned is, be careful how you communicate it in your professional environment.
I was just thinking, would you change your communication now looking backwards? Would you say you would today speak openly about cancer also in other environments, or are you still, yeah, are you fine with the way you did it at the time?
I'm still fine with the way I did it at the time, because I think that in professional life, my wish would still be to talk about it. Okay, I have to go to hospital, but not to use the word cancer beforehand. In hindsight, today I speak about it.
Mhm.
Many people at EWMD who know me from many years, they know that I had cancer. I can afterwards. It's easier to talk openly about it
Sure.
after this positive experience. Also, I had no backlash, and I tolerated well the all the treatments. But I would do it again, yeah, because
Mhm,
my fear
mhm.
would still be cancer, and maybe also other severe illnesses. They create, that was my fear, in the mind of the peers, of your colleagues, of your customers. Or maybe she's not so reliable anymore, or she might get ill
Yeah,
again, and then we choose another trainer or
right,
moderator.
right, right.
Yeah. I still would have that fear.
Yes, I understand. I remember I had also with the EWMD member, we had a discussion about a similar situation
Mhm,
5 years ago, and
mhm,
she also didn't want to be considered as she didn't want the customer to make the judgment whether she is in good shape and can
mhm.
handle the situation or not. And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we have so much professional experience. I'm pretty many years older than you are. I'm now 64. I become 65 this year. So 10 years ago, I was in the middle of my 50s. I had a lot of professional experience. I could imagine how customers react. And of course, there are some people who have understanding, but you never know. You don't know the background of the people if you don't know all your customers really since long time. So I talked about it to girlfriends in my family, of course, but not in the professional. Only, let's say, I had one cooperation partner, and she's also an EWMD member, and the cooperation was very close. Actually, I also had to cancel a training or a workshop, which was planned for the time when I had to go to hospital. So I told her, and at her reaction, she was so shocked. She said, "You cancer? Oh no, chemotherapy? Oh no!" I remember the phone call as today. So yeah, people react differently.
Yes, yes, yes. And you can't influence the reaction of others, and you don't know how, if you trigger them, maybe they
Yeah,
have a similar experience that you don't know of, and then
yeah,
there's all kinds of old other stories in the room all of a sudden.
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But interesting. And
Mm.
now 10 years afterwards it feels easier to talk about it. This
Yeah.
takes some time. It takes some time to heal.
Mhm.
But the nice part and the great part about your story is, for me, and you said that all right at the beginning, cancer has also something good. And I
Mhm.
have never heard somebody say that
Mhm.
cancer also has a good side.
Mhm.
And you imagine when you hear people going through a heart disease phase that they come out and value their health better and treasure the days
Mhm.
that they have. Sure.
Mhm.
But can I feel it?
Mhm.
Do I hear it?
Mhm.
And I probably should think like that, but
Mhm.
yes, that's probably not so easy. And
Mhm.
you were there
I
and
had
you
read
lived
it.
through it.
I had read it in a book, this positive effect, and also the woman who wrote this book, actually, she had cancer herself, of course, and then she wrote that when she heard this message, she was also angry and could not imagine. But then she described in her book how she learned to appreciate also the positive aspects, and this gave me some inspiration. And then today I feel the same. Also, my strength of being able to tell other people. I've already consulted two people who have the same kind of cancer, who had the same kind of cancer in the last couple of years.
Hmm.
I was called by one person by the son, because he knew he's my webmaster and my friend also and my IT support. So he called me because his mother had the same, and then I talked to his mother. I always recommend my hospital. She
Hmm.
decided for another hospital. She didn't want to go to Essen. She's from the Stuttgart area. She wanted to do it here. But I had two or three phone calls with her, and the other was a young lady in Frankfurt whom I talked to. And yeah, that's also a positive outcome. No? I have this strength of today I can talk openly about it. I can consult other people. That's something good.
Yes, yes, that's valuable. And I think it's much easier to listen to somebody who's gone through, lived through, and experienced it.
Yeah, some things are
Then,
really pragmatic,
right,
yeah,
yeah,
what is important to choose the hospital, was the advice that I gave to this woman who is very anxious. She was very anxious. I could
hmm,
feel it in the telephone calls, and going to Essen would really be too high a challenge for her. Yeah.
yes, 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 yes,
So, and
yes.
yeah, I it was a good talk. We're still in touch, and she was lucky. She went to a much smaller hospital here in the region of Stuttgart, and she has still some concerns and some physical challenges. But all in all, it went well with her also.
Super.
Mhm.
Dear Brigitte, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so
Welcome.
much for being so open and letting us participate in your experience. It was lovely speaking to you,
My
and
pleasure.
fingers crossed that your health is in good shape and will continue being in good shape for many, many years. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being here today.
Thank you, Ariane.